Creating good and interesting sound is a process as deep and complex as creating good and interesting imagery. Professional sound engineers dedicate their careers to helping audiences hear the most refined sounds. But as visualization designers, it's still important for us to have some idea of what we can do to make the sound that accompanies our visuals as clean and as compelling as possible. The first thing to know about sound design for films is that bad sound design can break an audience's suspension of disbelief almost instantly. You can usually identify an amateur production just by listening to it. A clean, deliberately designed soundtrack needs to be captured by the right microphone in the right setting. This is what you'd be hearing from the studio if I don't use a lapel microphone. You can hear fans whirring and other people in the room moving around. You should avoid using ambient microphones like those found in laptops or mobile devices because they pick up all the background noise in your environment, and your audience will hear it. If you're worried about the cost of professional equipment, consider looking into websites that rent that equipment cheaply or visit your local library. Lower quality microphones and microphones without windscreens and pop filters can also capture unwanted sound from a vocal performance. You can get hissing S's. You can get popping P sounds. You can hear swallowing and breathing. Sound can be cleaned in digital tools after the fact, but bad audio will distort when you try to reduce the noisiness of it. It is always better to record clean sound in the first place. There are several kinds of microphone you can use to record someone's voice. Lapel microphones gather localized sound, and shotgun microphones gather sound only from a specific direction. These microphones typically produce high-quality sound without too much expense. When trying to achieve the type of soundtrack that you are accustomed to hearing in professional documentary films, there are three separate sources of sound you're actually hearing. The first of these is recorded narration. Narration is typically performed by an actor reading a script.
When a photon hits, it excites rings of chlorophyll molecules. The energy held within these rings will now follow a pathway that converts it into increasingly stable forms that the cell can put to use.
The reason for having an actor perform the script instead of a scientist or designer is that actors have experience with empathetic, emotional delivery of lines. It's easy to imagine what narration from an untrained narrator might sound like. Finding an actor to help with your visualization does not have to be challenging or expensive, but you should always show them your appreciation in a way that's proportional to the size of the project. It's also valuable to find an actor who is enthusiastic about the science and the topics you're asking them to narrate.
When a photon hits, it excites rings of chlorophyll molecules. This energy is transferred across a family of proteins, the machines of life.
On larger scale projects, we sometimes work with celebrities, but we are wary of the celebrities with large fan bases who have a history of spreading misinformation about topics they have no expertise in. On projects with a budget for a celebrity narrator, we seek celebrities who respect their roles as ambassadors for scientific research. Even if you choose not to have an actor perform a script for your visualization, you should always script your narration prior to recording. This gives you an opportunity to run a major piece of the final film by experts and stakeholders. You can also analyze how the narration will affect your audience, whether information is in a meaningful order, whether the content of your visualization can be clarified through words, and whether there's an opportunity to compare the content of your visualization to something more familiar. In an IMAX film about the Hubble Space Telescope, we flew the audience into a star-forming region of a cloudy nebula, or as the script explained, we descend into a gargantuan canyon of clouds, 90 trillion miles across, a star nursery. These kinds of metaphors make new science concepts much easier to digest for an audience.
The biggest star here is surrounded by a flock of baby stars, each nested in its own cocoon. The wind from the giant star is blowing so hard against these little ones, it creates shock waves on their near sides and long tails behind. That's why astronomers have nicknamed these strange objects tadpoles. Inside each cocoon is an infant solar system. These tadpoles might turn into full-grown solar systems one day. but the continuous blast of wind may stunt their growth.
It's also helpful to be cognizant of the timing of your script. Many new filmmakers make the mistake of packing the narration as densely as possible with facts, and others try to capture the viewer's attention with an unbroken stream of talking. No matter how well designed a visualization is, it will always take your audience a moment to digest what they're witnessing, and your script should respect that. A script should aim to inspire, not to lecture, and it needs breathing room. That breathing room doesn't have to be dead air, though. The second source of sound you're used to hearing in a documentary is called the score. The score is the music that plays throughout most of the film, supporting the narration and bridging the spaces in between. While narration is employed to give us facts and information, music gives us a sense of mood and speaks to our emotions. Many people think of a film score as being a powerful and memorable melody like the ones from Jurassic Park or Pirates of the Caribbean. But most often a score's purpose is to hide behind the dialogue of a film and only swell at moments of emotional impact. In big blockbusters, this might be during a fight scene, but during a science documentary, this is how we fill our audiences with a sense of wonder while they watch unfamiliar universes evolve in front of them.
When a photon hits, it excites rings of chlorophyll molecules. This energy is transferred across a family of proteins, the machines of life. Down the line, electrons and protons carry the energy through a chain of chemical reactions.
While big-budget films hire professional composers to create scores for their films, small-budget filmmakers have found many creative solutions beyond asking a musically inclined friend to help them. Classical music will often have the emotional moments you're looking for, and there are many websites with free or cheap music. Just be sure that you understand the intellectual property rights before distributing someone else's music. The third source of sound in most film soundtracks is the sound effect track. Sound effects are sounds that seem like they were captured during the recording of a scene, but are actually captured somewhere else and edited in later. Unlike narrative filmmaking, where you might add sound effects of footsteps or a broom sweeping, we use sound effects to put emphasis on important events and to help illustrate our metaphors. For instance, this supernova explosion might work better with an explosion sound effect. In reality, sound doesn't carry in space because there's no air, but adding a boom reinforces what you just saw with your eyes and helps draw an analogy to the sound of TNT, giving us a sense of a very forceful event. Sound effects don't have to be a constant in your soundtrack, but they can be another powerful tool for the most important moments in your narrative. By combining narration, score, and sound effects, you can create a soundtrack for your visualization that captures your audience's attention and helps to stoke their imagination. By growing their sense of wonder, you inspire them to go out and learn even more. Fun fact: in visualization, we take data fields like density and temperature and use them to drive the visual dimensions of an image, like opacity and color. But did you know that you can do the same thing with sound? In the field of data sonification, designers take data and use it to drive the different dimensions of sound, like volume, pitch, and reverberation. One of the most important recent observations from distant space was actually sonified. This chirp comes from a gravitational wave that was observed with a giant space microphone called LIGO.